You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Oh boy. Oh my god. Men. They feel impotent, lonely, harmless, and powerless. Not ideal. They want to feel strong, powerful, and substantial, and they want girls. Even Dan Bilzerian is still constantly chasing more. The desire is insatiable. So whether you're an incel who cannot get anything going, or just a normal dude who wants to #GetHellaBitches, red pill content will eventually find its way onto your feed. The red pill got its name from that scene in The Matrix where Morpheus offers Neo a red pill which represents harsh truths, and then a blue pill, which represents pleasant lies. And so the idea of the red pill is that if you accept the harsh truths about the world and dating dynamics, you'll be more apt to navigate the dating landscape and thus find more success therein.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Nothing wrong so far. The desire to wield the truth to power is pretty fundamental to the human endeavor. So where does it go wrong? And how is most modern red pill harsh truth content secretly a blue-pilled pleasant lie at its core? And how are those pleasant lies counterproductively turning a whole generation of young men into insufferably annoying stochastic parrots with no brain cells and even less sexual opportunities? I think it goes wrong far before it starts. I mean, in Snicko's case, probably when he saw his girlfriend get piped right in front of his face.
Imagine seeing the girl you love, like,
get fucked.
Get fucked.
You love her?
Yeah, I do. I love it, yeah. It was missionary. Missionary
no.
legs up. Like,
missionary legs up?
Legs up, yeah.
Oh no. That's such a
Was he staring at her, like, in her eyes?
Yeah, like deep eye contact.
Oh no.
Deep eye contact.
But for the rest of us, it's probably not that much different. We've all been into a girl who chose somebody else, likely even in early childhood at impressionable ages, and a part of us never really forgot what that felt like. It feels like death, because a rejection from a girl signals that she doesn't think we should be making any more people like you. And so, knowing this on some level, men tend to use the image of the feminine to motivate themselves. And in some senses, women are the metric by which we measure our success. Men don't want to grow up to be the fat and ugly rich loner. They want to be the Tony Stark billionaire playboy.
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Because the prevalence of sexual opportunities signals to us how well we're doing, or even how well we are. And so when we do get rejected, it's not like some guy's just saying, "You ain't shit, bruv." It's like nature itself is telling us that we aren't good enough to continue existing. There are very few truths more uncomfortable than this. It fucking sucks. And discomfort precedes massive action. This is why tough breakups and harsh truths often fuel the most meteoric rises in men. But if the man is not strong enough to bear the weight of that truth, then the opposite can happen. Let me explain. When presented with uncomfortable truths, we have two options. Acknowledge them, or bury them deep in our subconscious Shutter Island style. The genius who revolutionized psychology, Carl Jung, had an incredible quote about this fork in the road, about this choice.
People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own souls. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes.
The red pill is supposed to be about the acknowledgement of truth, about making the darkness, the stuff that we don't want to look at, the unseen, seen, so to speak. And much of what it talks about is true. Primarily the idea that being harmless is not the same as being good, and nobody owes you sex just because you managed to avoid inconveniencing them. That's to say, been nice to them. But if you pay attention to the types of red pill content that gets viewed most often online, it's not the content that talks about how to identify and overcome your weaknesses, but rather content that points out how heavy reality is. Has my lens cap been here this whole time? The line between acknowledging harsh truths and complaining about them is very thin in the red pill space. It's the Fresh and Fit podcasts and the countless YouTubers showcasing how hypocritical some women are and then painting it as an accurate representation of an entire gender.
I've never heard of it, but it's true.
Okay, what does that mean? How would you define that?
That means that I have all the power, and anything that I want, the dude has to do before he can get what I got going on here.
Okay, so then why do you think there's so much talk in our society about things like male privilege and white privilege, but we never talk about pussy privilege?
I don't know, because dudes are stupid.
The video showcasing how important looks are and how unfair that is.
Guy that we have lined up today. What do you think initially about this person?
I would also give him a 6 out of 10. I like his hair.
Oh, holy mackerel.
He's cute.
He's cute,
He's also cute.
so not handsome. You can say it.
He's cute.
Is he handsome? Yes or no, is he handsome?
Yes.
He is handsome.
Cute, handsome.
Okay.
Hey, man, we take those.
The statistics on male loneliness and how that is society's fault. Whoever society is, wink wink. They're looking at the darkness, sure, and lots of the darkness that they're looking at is really there. The most consumed red pill content is all pointing outwards towards the world. When Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious," he was warning us about exactly this type of psychological phenomena. When young men watch videos of women being idiots or men talking about how unfair the world is, it might look like they're telling you to look at the darkness and pick yourself up by your bootstraps and do better. And to be fair, lots of them are telling you that, especially the smaller creators. But unfortunately, in most cases, the message is lost on the recipient. And even if some creators are quite clearly not purely complaining about the world and actually are telling their viewers to pick themselves up by their bootstraps and sort themselves out, like Chris Wills for instance, it's still not so obvious that the viewers are there to hear "pick yourself up by your bootstraps" or to hear "the world is heavy." And that's reflected in the view counts of the red pill content. It's the content that acknowledges the weight of the world that gets viewed, not the content that talks about how to make yourself stronger. But the world is heavy because we are weak. There's a great quote by one of the, I think it was Seneca, one of the old philosophers, that I think pertains to this exact situation pretty clearly. He said, "It's not that we do not dare because it is hard. It's that it is hard because we do not dare." And painting the world heavy only makes you seem more strong. The world is more unfair and unjust than I, and therefore I must be good. And therefore I would get more attention from women if only they weren't so
Delusional.
It's actually kind of funny because the nice guy attitude of "if only Chad wasn't such an asshole, then Stacy would see how good I am," quickly becomes "if only society wasn't so weak, then women would see how strong I am." It's exactly the same as nice guy syndrome. It just has different branding. Sidebar, do you think it's a coincidence that the villain arc meme became so popular around the same time as modern red pill content? Or is it all the nice guys who still secretly demonize power as something bad and inherently evil, and yet claim to wield it, or at least wish to? Reminds me of the demonization of the idol. Most followers of red pill content are not red pill at all. They are not confronting harsh truths about their weaknesses. They are simply obsessing over the heaviness of the external world. That women want men with money. That women are hypergamous. That women want healthy, fit men. That being more attractive makes you more attractive. Is this news? Fixating on how heavy the world is only shifts the blame away from your own weakness. And so what happens next? Well, instead of making all of the darkness within them conscious, and avoidance, which is preventing them from becoming the type of strong man that a woman would want, they instead imagine figures of light. And in this particular case, figures of strength. They imagine themselves rich, jacked, high status, masculine and strong. They begin changing the way that they act in an attempt to mimic what they had imagined.
Okay, here's what you do tonight. The moment she walks in, you issue her a command, okay? You do not break eye contact. You move slowly, confidently, and with purpose. When you go to the restroom, piss with the force of 1,000 suns. Also, when you introduce yourself to her, hold out your hand, but do not walk to her. You always make her come to you.
Gotcha. So that was all the weird shit you were doing.
And some of them even begin calling themselves masculine men or high-value men, as if labeling themselves in accordance with their newfound ideal somehow brings their true self actually closer to it.
Hi, my name is Hamza, and I turn masculine men into entrepreneurs. Masculine men, 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 and masculine men, masculine men, masculine men.
Your dropshipping side hustle did not work out, bro. You're not high value, you're in high school. I'm serious as well, like a large portion of this Red Pill viewers are actually like 15. They bury their weakness and then obsess over strength. They obsess over masculinity, and ultimately it's all a load of bullshit. They don't fetishize strength because they have it, but because they don't. And they're much more likely to Google what's wrong with women than what's wrong with me. It's no different from the nerd in school demonizing his crush for fancying the abrasive jock. Except they demonize women and society in general for suppressing their masculinity and imposing their feminine values onto society. I mean, don't get me wrong, men have our challenges in the modern world. From the structure of school systems that tell us to sit still and only speak when spoken to the docile structure of workplace environments, and the guilt-ridden moral code of popular culture, our drive to power is being suppressed, shamed, and demonized at every turn. And because of these various factors, the culture has forgotten that there's nothing wrong with power, with wanting to become more powerful, to overcome resistance, both internal and external. The culture has forgotten that we should aspire to that. Power is just defined as the ability to do, and it's the primary drive of life itself. Life wants wiggle room, it wants freedom. It wants to expand, to overcome, to be untethered to the constraints of the conditions in which it finds itself. I mean, the very act of metabolizing your bacon and eggs is harvesting the power from them. Cells expand and duplicate at the fringe of an ever-expanding universe. Overcoming limitation is life. It's how skillfully that power is wielded that makes it good or bad. Money is a form of power. You can do a lot of good with money, and you can do a lot of bad too, but that doesn't make you a greedy asshole for wanting more of it. A sword is a form of power, and it's very good in the hands of a father protecting his family, but it's no good in the hands of a child. It's only good when it's used skillfully by an integrated person, one who is very aware of their shortcomings and the risks of their own wielding it, and possesses the ability to avoid those risks from materializing and spilling into the lives of the people around them. That's to say, power is only good in the hands of a powerful person. Give power to a weak man, and all hell will break loose. But when it does, it shouldn't be power that we put on trial for the crime. It should be weakness. Instead, today's short-sighted culture puts power on trial. It demonizes it, and it demonizes the drive to power, the drive to ability in young men as well. Quickly, ambition gets relabeled as greed, and the life force of young men gets suppressed. And sure, it would be nice if the world was a little more encouraging in that regard, but it isn't. So, men, what are we going to do about that fact? Complain about it all day? Or actually make ourselves more powerful despite the culture's attempts to persuade us otherwise? And if we are to make ourselves more powerful, then how might we go about doing that? By adding more metal to our sword? Or by removing the metal that's making it dull? By sharpening it? It takes no courage to fantasize about a better version of yourself. It takes courage to confront your shortcomings, to do the deep internal psychological work to truly overcome yourself. Man cannot remake himself without suffering, for he is both the marble and the sculptor. He is both the sword and the whetstone. Instead, young men are avoiding the internal work. And it's not just the view counts of the blame-shifting red pill content that indicates this avoidance either. It's the viewers themselves. They cannot shut up about it. If they had truly accepted the harsh truths instead of taking both pills like a retard, they wouldn't feel the need to yap on about it all the time. It wouldn't live in their heads rent-free. And if they truly knew it was true, they wouldn't feel the need to impose those truths onto everyone that they talk to whenever they get a chance to bring up some statistic. The obsessive-compulsive need for everybody to believe what you believe comes from doubt, not confidence. And if they didn't doubt it, they wouldn't need to call themselves high-value men, or alphas. The powerful man does not need to say that he's powerful. And it's the very obsession with red pill ideas that gives the trick away. That these people are not the beneficiaries of the truths they've come to learn, but rather those most disaffected by them. Fresh and Fit will tell you that you shouldn't focus on women and instead pursue your purpose. But their entire life is dedicated to talking about women and strategizing how to attract more of them. I guess you could say women are their purpose. How ironic. Kinda cute. It's a delusion of the most fundamental kind a delusion of the Jungian shadow. The idea that one is integrating their shadow, seeing the previously unseen, making discoveries about themselves and integrating them, when in reality they're just burying all those things deeper and projecting them outwards. The belief that they're accepting harsh truths when in reality they're just masterfully wielding the art of misdirection against themselves. Jizzing over tough statistics all day is the psychological equivalent of pinching your arm to distract from the pain in your knee. Whether you're blaming the jock for taking your girl, blaming the girl for wanting the jock, or blaming the evolutionary psychology underpinning the whole situation, you're making yourself weak. Power follows the blame finger. If you blame those things, you give them power. And it only adds insult to injury if you still secretly think power is somehow an inherently bad or evil thing, because you'll just continue to hold back your own growth. You'll never overcome yourself. You'll never become more powerful. You'll demonize women for the power they hold over you, and then you'll demonize your own sexual or romantic impulses that persist despite your negative perspective of the women. And your whole psyche will just become a weak clusterfuck of paradoxical emotions and inner drives. Someone wouldn't have to do so much as sneeze at you, and all of that internal tension will just bubble up to the surface instantly. You'll just crumble under the weight of your own confusion. So you'll latch on to the red pill scripture, because at this point it's the only structure holding together the rubble of your identity. And you'll defend this structure like you were defending yourself, because at this point you are. It's become your whole personality. Congratulations. This is how the red pill makes some people so annoying. They constantly recite the scripture and make offhand comments that stink of resentment, and then normal people have to pretend like they don't see straight through it to avoid offending them. Ironically, they become a lot like the blue pill leftists that they so adamantly oppose. Because, just like the social justice warrior types, the lack of structure within their internal identity has to be supported by an increasingly rigid framework for understanding the external world. And their framework for understanding women in the world of dating will become so rigid that when somebody asks them why they're having no success with girls, before any honest self-inquiry can even take place, they'll regurgitate some statistic they read about male versus female match rates on Tinder. Sounds productive, bro. This is definitely a strong, truth-wielding man. Are you wielding the truth, or is the half-truth wielding you?
Motherfucker, I've been mortified, 45, fitting like a Mordecai. I ain't regular, feel like Jordan wearing 45.
So that's how the red pill is making young men weak. It's not the red pill itself, but the manner in which the young men are taking it. With a chaser of self-deception. Nice. Still, there are many elements of it that can be useful. So how do we make sure that we don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, and ensure that we use the red pill to our advantage rather than having the red pill use us to its? First, let's take a look at what's actually happening psychologically when we take the red pill. The first thing that happens is the best thing. We acknowledge that women like the jock. We stop believing the romanticized Hollywood depiction of the skinny nice guy who gets the girl in the end just because he was so harmless and inoffensive.
I like you so much.
This is obviously a false depiction of reality, so it's better that we do away with it. But then we reach a fork in the road. After acknowledging that truth, do we integrate it or reject it? If we reject it, make it out to be a bad thing, or assume that it says something bad about women, then we're being both weak and retarded. The truth is the truth, and the fact is there's nothing virtuous about harmlessness. But if you are harmless, and you're weak, this can be a hard pill to swallow. So instead of acknowledging your harmlessness, you will fake power, project it outwards, and imitate the jock. Listen, just because you're mean to a girl does not mean you're powerful or strong. I know your heart was racing. And just because you gave a girl cupcakes does not make you a good person either. Especially if those metaphorical cupcakes come with some expectation of sexual reward. That's not strength of character. That is bribery. Of the most deceptive kind. So to fully understand this, we have to come into contact with a rather ugly and horrible part of ourselves. Now, we can acknowledge that part of ourselves, look at it, figure out where it comes from, and work to overcome it. Or we can simply hear nice guys finish last, and then start being overt dickheads to women rather than the covert dickheads that we originally were. Either way, you're still a dickhead. If you want a good example of this, just search nice guy text messages on YouTube. It's fucking hilarious.
I literally just tried being nice to you. I complimented your shitty cosplay. I tried making conversation. Fuck me for trying, though. You're a fake-ass bitch. Highly doubt you, game. This guy's really trying to call her out for being a poser. Fake-ass. It's the holidays. Have some fucking cheer. Hello? Why aren't you responding to my insults? Listen, I was just trying to compliment you, okay? Now he's like backtracking. Listen, sorry, okay? Frickin', I just blew up a little bit because I care so much about you. I liked your cosplay and I thought we had something in common. I'm sorry if that seemed rude. I swear I'm not normally like that. I'm usually pretty normal for sure. I've just been trying to start conversations with a few people and I'm having the worst time getting people to reply. Oh, I'm sorry, that sucks. Yeah, just kidding. Fuck off. Fucking bitch. Typical fucking bitch. I would have blocked you sooner, but I thought you'd score me some Reddit points. Let's find out. Fucking cuck bitch. The fuck you. Read it. Whoa, he went like ape shit there. Hey cutie, you're beautiful. Don't ignore me. Am I not worthy of even a simple hello? I take that back. You're actually just a bitch. I was peeing. Chill. Do you think a guy wants to hear about that? You're disgusting. For performing a normal bodily function? Guys do not want to hear about that stuff. It's gross. Period, vagina, menstruation. Stop! Urethra, uterus, vulva, cervix. Please stop! I even shit once in a while. No, stop! Guacamole is better than sex. Lamau, so you obviously haven't had sex with the right man. Allow me to change that? Haha, no thanks. I think I'll stick with the guacamole. You are one intriguing woman. You complain about being single, and yet the second a nice man offers you his company, you would rather eat guacamole. This is why you're fat. I think that might be the funniest thing I've ever read. It's like you can't grasp the concept of irony. Maybe you're not as nice as you think you are. Fucking bitch. Bitch! You'd be lucky to have me. You should be grateful I'm even talking to you. My big eggplant cock. You're so right. What was I thinking? I'm being so dumb. You're obviously such a nice, charming guy. When can you come over, sexy? Wait, really? Oh, really? Eggplant, eggplant, eggplant. Oh, major boner, really? Fuck no, I'd rather die alone.
It's genuinely spellbinding how quickly these weak assholes will reveal themselves when their covert tactics didn't work. And this dickheadery and abrasiveness does not come from power or strength, but from weakness. Because they did not have the power to overcome themselves. They had no self-mastery. The nice guys in those text messages genuinely believe that they are good people. I mean, it's hard to tell from the outside, but they're genuinely incapable of seeing the ways in which they suck. They're not deceiving the girls into believing that they're good and then dropping the act when they get rejected. They are genuinely convinced that they are good. And their conscious mind is genuinely blind to all of the darkness that bubbles up after the rejection. I mean, of course they'll see themselves getting angry and writing out all of the angry text messages, but they will genuinely believe that it's justified, that they're not in the wrong. It's kind of like multiple personality disorder. And we all have it to a greater or lesser extent. And the process of becoming more powerful or achieving self-mastery is the process of bringing all the stuff that we are semi-willingly blind to into the light. To first notice it and then integrate it to bring it under our control. That way it doesn't bubble up and control us instead. It's not that the good guy persona was evidence of weakness in these people. And it's not the asshole persona that was weak either. It was the distance between the two, the lack of integration between them. The fact that parts of themselves, the fact that parts of themselves had to be quarantined in the unconscious. That is what makes them weak. And to a lesser extent, we all do this. So how do we overcome that exactly? Master ourselves, become more powerful, and become worthy of wielding Thor's hammer of truth. First of all, we have to be honest about how we feel about the things we discover when we're exploring the red pill, or any harsh truth, but this video is about the red pill. For instance, it's no good to learn about hypergamy and then shake your fist at it. And it's much worse to pretend you're not shaking your fist at it. Pause. That just buries it in the subconscious. If the hypergamous nature of women causes you to feel some negative emotions towards them, then you haven't fully understood the situation. Or more likely, you haven't fully understood yourself. For example, where you may have convinced yourself that you've identified a problem with women, hypergamy, you're actually just avoiding identifying a problem with yourself. Maybe it's just that you don't have that much to offer right now. Or maybe your unconscious mind still secretly believes in a juvenile depiction of good and believes that women should choose you based on your goodness. And so instead of acknowledging a part of yourself that you disapprove of, you redirect that disapproval out towards the women. You demonize the ideal. So how do we get out of this predicament? Through it. The truth will set you free if you know what to do with it. If you too often find yourself shaking your fist at hypergamy, the importance of looks, or women in general, you have an opportunity to examine your own psyche and overcome those weak parts of yourself. To become more powerful, but you have to do the internal work. Hormozy said you don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you claim you are. Both by building a stack of proof to back up your true claims, and by changing what your claims are about who you are when you discover that they're untrue. And having a lingering background resentment towards women is evidence of weakness, of that disintegration between multiple parts of yourself that can't coexist in an integrated fashion. But it's also an opportunity to add to your stack of proof if you would just look at it and be honest with yourself about it. Because if you truly confront the part of yourself which that emotion comes from, and win, then you have one more point of proof as to who you are. In fact, in doing that, you become somebody new, somebody better, somebody more powerful. You become less of a multiple personality insane person. You gained mastery over your own psyche, freed yourself from the tyranny of your own ignorance and obfuscation. And you got one step closer to becoming the type of person that a woman would actually choose in the first place. Here's the best part about it all. None of this is actually about women. If you continue on this journey of self-mastery, continue to come to know yourself better, you'll eventually become so acquainted with your own power of self-mastery that the female validation that motivated you to grow in the first place will be completely unnecessary. You'll become free from the very thing that motivated you to move beyond your state of weakness in the first place. You won't need to look to female validation to affirm how well you're doing or how well you are, because you will know how far you've come. But it has to be real. You have to have that stack of undeniable proof, which means you have to do the work, and it will take years. In fact, the job is never done. But this is where unshakable inner confidence comes from. Knowing yourself. Because so long as you don't know yourself, the world can tell you who you are, and that's scary, because it might tell you something bad. The world can always elude us, but the man who has mastered himself has something that cannot be taken from him. And we're about 6 months from the red pill becoming the new social justice warriors. So pattern yourself, fam. By the way, I just wanted to say thank you so much for the insanely quick growth of this channel and the amount of support that everybody's been giving. It's actually insane. Because of the nature of the stuff that I'm talking about, lots of people have questions and I can't really get back to all of them while still making these videos. So I've set up a Patreon. The link to the Patreon will be in the description. And so on the Patreon is going to be some longer form content, any resources that I've been learning from, or books, book lists, and stuff that I'm currently paying attention to. I'm going to be sharing it to have one of your questions answered. I'm going to be doing weekly Q&As there too, in which I'll answer every single question that gets asked, bar none. So that's the commitment, that's the promise, and yeah, just thank you so much for watching. It's been pretty cool to see how many people these ideas are resonating with. So yeah, thank you.